Hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's really lovely to have you all here for this session, and we hope to make this a very productive 1 hour. I'll hand over to Abdul Ghafoor now, who will be taking you through the presentation. Thank you.
Uh, Hi all, once again, welcome. The aim of this is that we get to build out a really simple business plan, and this should essentially serve as an internal document because as you start a business, there's a lot of moving parts, and it's always good to have something documented, even further down your journey. It's something that you can look and see if things are going as per plan. All right, so let's get started. So the agenda for today is essentially understanding what a business plan is, what are the key components of a plan, a step-by-step guide, like a hands-on exercise, and wrap up in resources. So I'll dive straight in, and we'll take a break in between where you could engage. So what is a business plan, right? So without complicating it much, it is essentially a formal document that outlines the goals of a business, strategy for achieving these goals. Then you put timelines and budgets to it, right? It can serve as a roadmap for the business, can be used for various purposes. Essentially, I think like when we put together something like this, it is more used for like an internal document for you to refer back to. So you keep hearing business plans, a lot of this, everywhere. There's a lot of literature on this. There's lots and lots of documentation. The purpose, what I would say, why do you need a business plan? Keeping all of that aside is helps clarify your business idea. Lots of times, as and when you speak, when you speak something, it's not clear. You've got the habit of saying that, hey, did you understand? And this essentially helps clarify your business idea, right? There's something called the mom test. It says that if you have a business idea, if you can explain it to your mom and she understands it, that's kind of like the first gate that it passes. Then next, it provides a strategy of execution. As I said, something to bring your business to life. It helps identify potential challenges, competition. As I mentioned earlier, it's a reference document during the execution phase to check your assumptions and help your understanding. Can be used for secure funding, whether it's with investors, banks, so on and so forth. There's one thing that I think Mike Tyson, the legendary boxer, said that all your plans, go down the window once you get your first punch on your nose, right? So you've got to treat your business plan as a living document. You get onto the market, you execute, you understand, what changes to make, and then it needs to evolve. Moving on, so the typical components essentially are, it is, an overview, which is essentially a summary of what it's trying to achieve. What is it planning to sell? Goods, services? What's the value that you're bringing to your audience? Analysis of the opportunity and why this is attractive. A marketing and sales strategy to help it achieve its goals. The operational setup that's required to ensure that this is viable. The financial viability, that means, all of this could be there, and in spite of that, it may not be financially viable because of various reasons, right? And the team that would go behind executing something like this. So these are all the typical components. I'll just take a minute, if there is anybody who just wants to raise their hands or something of that sort, I'll take a minute. Just something for you to maybe even look at the screen, and then we can go from there. Okay, I think we've got a. Hi, can somebody in the team just allow Wasim? I think he's put his hands up.
Yes, I have. I have.
Sure. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, please.
Hey, I just
Hey.
want to know, is it wise to put in an exit strategy when you're, in the typical components?
Now, so absolutely, it is wise to put. The reason I haven't put that in is that this is a business plan focused on micro businesses, and when it comes to exit strategies and stuff like that, this is usually startups who think about that. And let's say you're opening a clothing store. Lots of times you're not really thinking of exiting it. You're thinking of revenue, profit, income. So that's the reason that's not there in this list, but definitely wise to have something such as that, because as I mentioned, this is a really simple business plan. So for some of you guys, this may be too basic, but feel free to ask your questions and I will answer them on the go. Wasim, is there anything else that you wanted to specifically ask?
Nothing. That's it. You answered it well. Thank you.
Sure, man. Thanks. So now the idea is, not to just get into theory, just to kind of showcase like a step-by-step approach towards building a plan. So, for this, I've just imagined a hypothetical scenario. I mean, it's something that I've probably wanted to do too. So it's a scenario that's in my head, right? If I want to launch a men's grooming brand, right? So that's a scenario, right? You feel there is a market for a premium grooming brand in the men's segments, and they're not served well enough, right? You talk to friends, you talk to family, you're in coffee shops, you talk to everybody, and everybody tells you this is brilliant, or some people feel that it's not great. So what's next, right? So I would say, what's the next step, right? So what? All right. So before that, just maybe like a quick poll. If how many of you have a business plan? The answer could be that you're meticulous. Lots of times, people don't start off with that. No, you plan to wing it because you're quite confident, or it's just a very what do you say, like a just a inkling of an idea in your head. So if you guys can, I've just put that poll. If you guys can just vote, it just gives me a little bit of what do you say, like a feel of who's thought. I've just got one vote, guys. Come on, I need some more votes here. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Did I, before the votes got, okay. I mean, this is probably I've seen the results, and let me just publish the results. You guys can see this. It's essentially 3 of you voted saying that you're meticulous like that. This is great, guys. I mean, not a lot of people do a full-fledged business plan. No, you plan to wing it. You're like most of the people, and you're still cooking. So you've got your, there's a way to go there, right? Yeah. So just moving on to what I said, right? So first thing, let's really simplify it, right? Take a pen and paper, or PowerPoint, Word document, write down what that business is trying to achieve, right? So in this particular case, you're launching a premium men care brand focused on working professionals from 25 to 45, right? So in this particular statement, you've kind of identified your audience. You've kind of, given a kind of shades to them, right? You've said that they're working professionals. You probably decided that they're working professionals because that they've got that disposable income. You've decided that this is the age group that you want to go for, right? What does it do? It does grooming products, skincare, hair, beard, fragrances. And then it's people use mission and vision, I think, very loosely. The vision that you could have is to be like a to go to name for high achievers for fulfilling their grooming needs, right? And so yeah, so it just needs to be really as simple as this, right? Now, just going to go to, I think, what Wasim said. Wasim, I think, is from the startup scene, and so the way we would do it there is slightly different. You probably look at what's the problem, right? And then there's a different way that you would go about there in that case. So next is analysis of the opportunity, right? So analysis, this is super important, right? So you do an industry overview. This can be like a desktop research, essentially, which you get an understanding of, okay, is this like a growth market? There will be lot of lot of information that you're not aware of. For example, there's like in the United Arab Emirates, there's a lot more men than women because there's so many expats there, right? So automatically that's one information that the population, I think, is around 60-70% is male, so that's there. You see your target market. In the target market, you get a little bit more. Once you understand what you call as the ideal customer profile, right? So what is an ideal customer profile? That this is the profile of customers that you intend to serve, right? Now, this understanding of this is, again, really important. This allows to inform your marketing, branding, sales strategies. It gives a little bit of an information. You really know, once you identify where they are, right, what they are, to reach to them, right? Then you understand the market size and growth. Why is this important? There is a saying that says that a mediocre product in a great market would still survive, and a great product in a market that's not doing well will not survive, right? So that's essentially why you still look at the market size, the market's growth, other than uh, other than the other analysis, right? It's important to look at competition. Sometimes I've heard people say there's there's not enough competition. I keep saying, you've not looked at it enough, or all you need to do is run some Instagram ads, and Instagram will bring you the rest of the competition. And I've launched a couple of businesses, and this has been my experience. Lots of competition, it gets to you, right? I mean, it comes to you once you start executing. Okay. Now, why this analysis is important? There is something called analysis paralysis. And I've just put going down the rabbit hole. If you guys know the term, right, it essentially just means that your analysis is your analysis sometimes leads you to um, deviate from your vision. Then you end up building something that's essentially not why you started. You're using all your analysis to reform your idea instead of getting real feedback from the market. And this is something that a lot of people, especially some of them who love research, including me, have suffered. I think I've gone, while building Paci itself, we started off with the current one, but then I diverted, and now we've come back to where we were originally. So it's something to be something to keep in mind. Again, I'll just pause for a minute. If anybody wants to ask something, is there anything that you wanted more clarity? Quite happy to answer. Okay. Okay, so now let's get to, what are we selling, right? So it's important whether it's a product or service, you kind of outline, okay, this is what's going to be my services, this is going to be what my product. So here again, I've taken it back to the hypothetical product that we are selling. So it's like a, men's products. So you've got your product line, that's your beard care, hair care, that's your shampoos, conditioners, skin care. So what we are saying is that what we at least started off is saying that, it's premium, right? So for it to be premium, it has premium quality, natural ingredients, products specifically formulated for men's needs. So it's important to bring this or flush this out. And sometimes, the whole USP is in our mind, and it's important that your audience understands it, your customers understand it, and even sometimes your team, right? So I've just put together this, I think, this shaving brush just to showcase, so, they're saying they're premium soft brush material, use of chrome, premium wood finishing, is just outlining that, okay, this is a premium product and this is why it's premium. So there is a customer that just I've onboarded who is launching a premium food product, who I'm advising, and the entire packaging. So we recently had a meeting, and it is super premium, and the entire packaging, unfortunately, does not reflect it. And it's something that I was just telling that person, and they've gone back into the drawing board. So it's important to really flush out your USP. It is super difficult, but it's something that you need to keep in mind. Okay. Moving on to the next bit is marketing and sales, right? Marketing and sales are super, super wide topics. We could do an entire hour on that, but for the sake of simplicity, and they really can't be clubbed together also, right? But for the sake of brevity and simplicity, I've brought them together, and I felt that this picture, defines that in the most simplest manner ever, right? So you see a Mercedes ad, they kind of, that's marketing. It's kind of aspirational. It's just like, it's addressing a want, not a need. It's kind of telling you, okay, you drive a Merc. It's kind of like a status symbol. There is, it's if you see all the ads, they're so well made. The aim of marketing is to create awareness, probably address the need, create the want, and essentially, in simple terms, is to get the customer to the shop, right? And from there, and that's when the sales takes over. Sales team, essentially, it's essentially to make them buy, right? So here, what would happen would be something like you address their queries. They may have queries regarding, will it fit my family? Is there enough boot space? They address the terms of purchase. Can I get a car loan on it? How much of car loan can I get on it? Right? What kind of benefits do I get? Like extended warranty? What happens? For example, is parts difficult to get? What about service terms? And it's kind of pushing them down, getting them to make that decision, right? Lots of times marketing and sales go hand in hand. Let's take the example of what do you say, of the car person, right? And somebody who's shopping for a Merc is essentially, you cannot convert them, however good a salesman you are, to probably a Toyota or a Nissan customer. You could get them to maybe a BMW or an Audi, right? So because these are comparable things, so you could do that. So this is the funnel. It's what you call as the marketing funnel, sales funnel. It's essentially a process through which you drive your customer from awareness to action, right? So it is a step-by-step process. It's essentially what is awareness is, let's take in the case of the men's care brand, you first see the brand's ad, right? So as something that proposition, it proposition attracts you. For example, it says that for specifically formulated for men. So you're like, okay, that's interesting. It's the whole branding feels, feels good. So then once they become aware of, you've seen that video a couple of times, then you go onto their website, right? So then there is an interest, right? Interest, you start engaging with them, you start seeing what are the products and all of that, and then that's kind of like the interest. The desire is where the desire is essentially where, okay, you've seen this, now there are other what do you call, care brands, right? Or maybe there's another one uh, which sorry, there was some disturbance, right? Which is essentially, now you're comparing it. Yeah, it doesn't need to be, you need a face wash. It doesn't need to be a men's care one, because you just don't feel there's enough of a differentiation, right? And the other product is just cheaper, right? So that's when you you have the desire, but then you're doing the comparison, right? And you're on the website, you're checking this, and then right when you're probably leaving, there's an exit intent, and then they say, hey, 10% off because that's this. Or there is another, maybe there's an email that comes out to you saying that, hey, Father's Day, we're giving XYZ offer, and then you sign up for it. That's the action, right? So sales and marketing, kind of, it falls down the funnel, and it is a hand-in-hand exercise. Yeah, so moving on from this, I've just given a couple of sales and marketing channels. Again, Beardo is a popular men's care brand. So I'm just given, digitally, what are the channels? They have digital channels such as SEO, SEM, they have ads, they're on social media, there's content marketing, there's influencer marketing. Then there's also offline partnerships, right? Where you do sponsorships. I think a great proponent of offline partnerships is Red Bull. I think, we see a lot of adventure or events or extreme events which are sponsored by them. You associate the name Red Bull to adventure, right? To excitement and all of this. There's a very clear marketing message and a strategy there. And then now you just go to sales channels here. Again, the sales channel would be, official website. They could be major online marketplaces, that is Amazon, Noon, and others. Retail distribution for a product like this, you wouldn't have your own retail stores because you've not become a brand enough. But then let's say you're in Mall of the Emirates, or you go to a Virgin store, right? And then it occupies the shelf there, and then now you become aware of the brand. Its messaging, its positioning is apt there. And then it could be something like a subscription where you sign up for getting these packages on a monthly basis. Again, I'll quickly stop here for a minute. Feel free to shoot your questions, anything of that sort, and we can go from there.
Yes, because we have taken a hypothetical case. If any of you have a specific question that's related to your business, please do not hesitate to ask us any question related to the topics he's covered.
Feel free, guys. I mean, we wouldn't know your industry completely, but then, we could put up for discussion, maybe just give our thoughts on it.
I think we can continue and give them time again in the end.
Sure, thanks. Okay, now we get to the operational plan, right? This is probably the most difficult, the most the thing that requires the most discipline, and something that requires that's the least interesting bit of the job, but you've got to make trains run on time. And so if I don't know how many of you are aware, Steve Jobs has two stints as the CEO of Apple. In the first stint he got fired, and the next stint when he achieved his legendary status, what happened is that he had somebody called Tim Cook with him. So Tim Cook ensured that the trains ran on time, right? So now what you have here with me is Gulnar. She runs my operations and she ensures that the trains run on time, right? So anyway, going back, an operations plan, I picked this off the internet. Operational plan, I think, simply should answer these questions. Who's responsible for the task? What are the tasks that need to be completed? Where will the operations take place? How will these tasks be performed? And how much is it going to cost to complete these tasks? Right? So, like I mentioned, it outlines how it achieves its goal through day-to-day operations. And it should, at the minimum, outline what's the infrastructure needed, what's the human resource requirement for you to achieve the team required to achieve all of this. What's the procurement in place, and the technology infrastructure to bring all of this together. So for the hypothetical product, for example, for us, supply chain would be really important. That is partnering with reliable suppliers for the raw materials, because we're seeing its premium, maintaining efficient inventory systems, production, again, ensuring high quality production standards through regular audit, quality checks, logistics, right? Collaborating with logistics, both internal and external. As an internal, you need to get the raw materials in time. Externally, you need to ensure that the fulfillment of your orders are on timely basis. Nobody's going to, you wouldn't want to wait for a product like this for, 15 days. It's no Rolex, right? That you're willing to have a waiting period for something like this. So efficient delivery of this is something super important. Okay, I shall move on now. Financials, again, something that's quite, quite simple, but I think it's made to be a lot more difficult than what it is. It just need to have an idea about your revenue streams. Where would it come from, right? So in this case, from grooming products, subscription services, collaborations, cost structure, right? Cost structure associated with production, marketing, distribution, operational expenses. What would be the margins, expected margins based on your forecast, right? And then you build out maybe like a 2-3 year forecast. And then what sort of funding requirements would you need? Are you doing this out of your own savings? Are you getting investors from friends, family, others? Is that you need some sort of a financing from banks or other mediums, right? And also, I think other than this, it's also important to kind of come up with a set of metrics that you want to keep track of. You don't want to have too many metrics. You don't want death by analysis there, right? You analyze everything for the sake of it, right? So you want to keep that, especially when you're starting off. You want to keep it, just pick out 5. Let's just say pick out 5 or 10 at the max, and then analyze that. For example, for us in this hypothetical situation, let's look at what is the cost of acquiring the customer, right? What would that be? And also something like an inventory turnover ratio, because it's important, right? We produce, if it's not flying off the shelves that fast, should we reduce our production, and so on and so forth. Now, understanding the competition, the idea is to always focus on yourself and keep building, but how it's important to keep an eye on the competition due to the following. This may inform brand building, sales strategy, pricing. Example, pricing, how is your pricing relative to your segment, right? Or do you have um, enough of a story to price higher? Like I said, right? So when somebody is buying a mug, there is a, back of his head, there is a comparison with the BN. There's probably a premium that he would pay within a certain range. So that's something that's that he's continuously having in his mind. I put the ad of Patek Philippe here. It's a premium watch. The purpose of this is it's how they've positioned it, right? So a watch is essentially a purchase, it's an expense, but how they've positioned this is that, and if you read it, right, it's saying that you never own a Patek Philippe, you merely look after it for the next generation, right? So they've just taken that whole thing that it's not an expense, it's like a family heirloom, it's an asset that can be passed on, so it's just, it's just how they are positioned it, right? And then let's say you're releasing your own brand of watches, you need to, really think of how we are positioning it, right? Like you've got newer brands such as Jacob and Co. and Richard Mille that is pricing it's a really high, but they've got, they've bought in enough of a story to do that. Again, I would want to just, do a poll. Just wanted to get an understanding of how does this business plan look? Do you feel like this seems like an overkill, or is this enough, right? I mean, it's kind of like just getting your view. Seems like an overkill, yeah. I'm just waiting for, I've got 9 votes. I'm just waiting for some more time just to see, if there's more votes coming in. Okay, so essentially, the audience thinks this is an overkill. So in all fair, that's probably right. When you're starting a business, you don't want this kind of detailing, so that you kind of give it up before you start off itself, right? But this is essentially a simple business plan that I've showed you guys, right? Just one thing before I kind of go back to some other things on this, right? One thing that you could do is this to prevent this analysis paralysis is kind of like get into some action, right? Like check, as I was mentioning with regard to the mom test, see if your mom understands it. Along with that, one thing you could really do is just see if there are buyers for it. Run a couple of ads, talk to people, act like you have the product ready. And I always have the saying that, if somebody is willing to pay for it, then there's a market for it, right? And if somebody is willing to, make that payment on that payment link, right? And you could even refund them, even if before you go ahead and, have it. And it's good to, because that's as truthful as it gets, right? And this was the ad that we ran way in the beginning, and we've had lots of different kinds of people. There was somebody who thought that I was offering coffee for free each day, and then it's some sort of a coupon that that they could avail. And so, like I said, run ads, you kind of get that messaging, what people understand and all of that. And so just going back to the poll results, a business plan can be as detailed or as crisp as what you and your stakeholders need, as long as you're comfortable, right? As you feel the bases are covered. So there isn't any hard and fast rule. You can have it really simple out there. Now, since this is a long drawn document that a lot of people wouldn't want to produce or don't have the time to produce or just don't have the bandwidth, essentially, right? You could do this is a visual method. It's essentially what do you say, like a method developed by a company called Strategizer. It's called the Lean Business Canvas and Business Model Canvas, and it essentially, in like a single page, it allows you to bring your entire proposition together. And this doesn't this doesn't replace a business plan, because that kind of detailing is required, but it kind of gives you like a bird's eye view. So what I want to do here is that I want to divide this into three parts. So what you have from value proposition towards the right, that is your value proposition, customer relations, channel and market segments, is something that I would call as the desirability, right? So this is quite useful for you to understand, is that what the customer wants? Is that what is that you're trying to solve for them? There are multiple problems that you could solve for them. Is that something that, how would that relationship would look? Would they pay? How do you reach out to them, and so on and so forth? What you have on the left-hand side is what your key partners, activities, what are the key resources. So this is what you would call as I think you can call this as a feasibility. That means, okay, the customer wants X, Y, Z. This is his problems. Can I bring together a value proposition, a product that solves it, right? So it's that this metrics, this cluster of three, that helps you identify that. And at the bottom is what you can call as your financial viability. Okay, that means you've identified something that the market needs. You feel that you can bring out a product or service that achieves that. But are you going to make money? Are you going to grow? Is this sensible for you to get into? And so you don't need to go through the entire business exercise, a plan exercise, if you don't want to. If you can have something like this at least mapped out, you still need to look at the cost structures and the financials and all of that, because it's super important that it ties up those numbers. And what I've done next is essentially just taken something off the internet for Gillette, what they have done exactly in the same, because it's similar, the men's care brand, and then it's kind of reflecting how they have populated this, right? So what they're saying is that the value proposition is quality, comfort, right? And then key partners are retail, advertising agencies, then there's e-commerce. You need human resources, key resources, there's branding, marketing. What would be the cost structures, the revenue structures? How would you reach out to those channels, right? So it's through convenience stores, supermarkets, online stores, and so on and so forth. It's just kind of laying out nicely how you can look at any business through this. There may be gaps, but it kind of allows you to have like a bird's eye view of how your business would look. Any questions, anything here? If anybody wants to ask something, I'll just wait a minute. Okay, moving on. So here, I just wanted to introduce Sprinkles. Sprinkles is essentially, we developed a learning hub. The idea of this is just so that to help small and micro businesses. There's a lot of resources in the internet for startups, such as the Y Combinator schools, and there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of confusion when it comes to, especially in the internet, with all the startup literature, that how do you do a normal business, right? I just want to open a cake shop, right? So imagine you take the startup literature and you run that same sort of this thing, saying that it starts with what problem are you solving? There's no problem. You just want to sell delicious cakes, right? That's what you feel. There's no problem there. It's all good, right? So that's the purpose of Sprinkles. It's essentially to kind of help these micro businesses with everything with regard to their business. And we're not talking specifically on finance. We'll be talking everything from marketing to payments to brand building and so on and so forth. Here, I'm just going to, yeah, sorry, Ronald.
So everyone, thanks for attending the session again. So um, Abdul Ghafoor went through the presentation with the example of a men's grooming kit. So I'm sure many of you might have questions regarding their own business. So please feel free to ask them. If those questions are not ready at the moment, please do join this educational community, and do not hesitate to post your questions there, and we'll get back to you with answers and provide you with resources to help your business grow. And thank you again for joining.
Thank you all. If there's any questions, we'll stay back. If not, thank you.
Hey, thank you for the session. I just want to know, do you have a sample format of which you have, which you must have seen in the past, which you can share, where, we can get an idea how they go about, what are the topics they have covered in their business plan?
Sure. I mean, there's lots of business plans, but
We will do one thing. We will share examples of a service related, product related, all on the Sprinkles community, and you can pick it up from there, just so that all the bases are covered and you can relate to it with your specific business type.
Perfect, makes sense.
thank you. Thank you, Wasim.
Thank you, Wasim.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks. Bye.
Hello.